Good morning. It is Friday, and today we are talking about landforms. Now, when we talk about the physical geography of Earth and everything, we have these kind of like majestic and powerful and these defining features of the Earth's surface, and we refer to these as our landforms. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over the major landforms for that we will be looking at and everything. Again, just kind of review over stuff that you've talked about before, but we'll get into it a little bit. And again, it's a good base to have for this, where you say, okay, this place has an isthmus. What does that mean? So the first landform we're going to look at is a mountain. Mountain is a large, steep area of land which usually rises more than 1,000 feet into the air. We look at our major mountains, just like we'll look at the United States. You have the Appalachian Mountains and the Rocky Mountains. These mountains are very, very much defining features, and they actually do have an impact on the culture and how people live in those areas. The next landform we're going to look at is a canyon. This is a deep, narrow valley with steep sides and a river flowing through it. The most notable is probably the Grand Canyon, but we have the Snake River Canyon and a few other canyons in the United States. And these are kind of created over, thousands of years, where you have a river that kind of flows to a specific area and it continues to erode that area deeper and deeper until it eventually creates these really deep valleys that are just a river with kind of these steep walls on either side. Something that we sometimes see in Florida is a hill. It's a raised area of land. It's not quite as tall as a mountain. We have a hilly area. The hilly areas leading up to a mountain are referred to as the Piedmonts. Then you get into like the higher peaks and everything over 1,000 feet, turning them into mountains. But hills are something that you find in most places, not the Great Plains, but a lot of other places in the United States. Volcano. This is a mountain or even a hill with a crater through which lava, rock, or gas erupt. Now, volcanoes, particularly if you think about, most volcanoes that we have are dormant, and like hundreds of them are actually underwater. But the ones we're looking at right now, the ones that you see above the land, and they are, they are filled and they have like a channel to magma or lava. Most are dormant, or the action that they have are not things that we actually see or deal with, but they are something that's, it's a pretty big physical feature. The Hawaiian Islands are volcanic islands. A cape is a narrow piece of land that projects out into the sea. Now, this is different from a peninsula because it's a little bit more narrow than that. It's kind of you have a piece of land and then you have this like sliver that juts out into the sea or the ocean. Cape Hatteras, Cape Horn. In South Africa, you have an entire town on one known as Cape Town. The beach. The beaches, Florida is very well known for beaches, and it's a landform along the body of water, which consists of loose particles such as rocks and sand. So these sandy beaches, again, with the salt and everything, it makes it very difficult for things to kind of grow in that area. So anything that's living doesn't grow, or as far as like vegetation and stuff. So you're left with just sand. A bay is a recessed coastal body of water that directly connects to the main body of water. Now, if you look at Tampa Bay actually connects to the Gulf of Mexico. We have the Skyway Bridge that goes over it. A basin is a natural depression in the Earth's surface, usually holding water. It's almost like a bowl in the Earth's surface, and you usually find like a small lake at the bottom. Desert, dry areas of land having very little rainfall or plant life. The Sahara Desert, just no life, plant life as far as but yeah, it's a giant sandy area. A cave is a deep, hollowed out area often found in the side of a cliff or hill. So yeah, cave systems are really popular in areas where you do have caves and everything. But you can go into and visit places along the Appalachian Mountain. I remember being in Virginia, we actually could go into a cave and explore. You can see the stalagmites and stalactites and those kind of physical features of the cave. They're usually cool and damp on the an area of land that is lower than the land around it. So this is just a simple. It's not quite a valley. Valleys are kind of between two mountains, but it's the lower area of land. And typically you will have like hills or something else that are close by to kind of define like, oh, this is where, the higher parts where, this is the upland and this is the low. Waterfall is a steep fall or flow of water from a higher elevation. Now, it's not always going to be like Niagara Falls type waterfall. Waterfalls can be a couple feet. A lake is a body of water completely surrounded by land. We all know what a lake is. Lake Okeechobee, and then the Great Lakes up in Michigan. An isthmus. This is a narrow strip of land that connects two large masses and it separates two bodies of water. So we look at the United States or North America and South America. We have what is known as the Isthmus of Panama. Panama is a relatively narrow country, very, very narrow strip of land, but it actually is connected. Now we have the Panama Canal that goes through it. So we've kind of created a pathway so one can get from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean without having to go all the way around South America. But it connects North America and South America together. So you could technically drive from Alaska all the way down to southern Argentina. Glaciers are a large body of year-round ice, and it moves slowly. Now, glaciers aren't always just in the water; they're connected to land, and they are constantly moving. I mean, when we look at our fjords in Norway and Sweden, they were created by glacier movements. An island is a body of land completely surrounded by water. My head's covering up that definition. But yeah, island, Anna Maria Island, while it is like we can get to it by bridge and everything, it is technically completely surrounded by water. The Hawaiian Islands, there's lots of islands. Wetlands are a ecosystem, water covering the soil for part of the time or all the time. So swamps, marshlands, mudflats, all would fall under the context of a wetlands. The valley. We talked about lowlands before, but a valley is a long, low area between hills or a mountain range. So you will have this kind of like pathway between two mountains. A plateau is a raised flat area of land that is higher than the surrounding area. So like we think about mountains, the mountains typically come up to a peak and everything. This is where you actually have an elevated land and it'll be flat across the top. A river is a large natural stream which flows into a large body of water. So they typically start inland and then they empty into the ocean or a sea or into a large lake. A peninsula. Florida is a peninsula. It's a piece of land that is surrounded by water on three sides. A mesa is a flat top elevated landform. Now, it's not quite as large as a plateau. Plateau is much larger than mesa. It's almost like a smaller version of it. Well, that's everything for this presentation. We will be creating a kind of visual dictionary using landforms. So you'll have the landforms, you have a definition, you have to provide an image and then 3 examples. And again, just kind of gives you an idea of some of these landforms where they can be found around the world. It's Friday. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Wear seatbelts.